Demonstration video of the Purdue D3M Data Exploration and Modeling Environment, also called ModSquad. You'll see along the top of the screen breadcrumbs for the steps from welcome to the finish. We pretty much work our way through that order. You can always see where you are by reviewing up there. The next one, the step number 2 for variables. A particular problem is being solved here. It's been preloaded for the interface. And here is the list of variables. Sometimes I'll call the features. So for the purpose of this video, features and variables may be used interchangeably. Here's a sample data set where middle school children were asked what are their more important goals. Do they care about grades or being popular or sports the most? This is what's called the target variable, and they were looking for this. The information we're given is what are their grades, for example, 4th, 5th, and 6th. What is their age, and race, whether they're urban or rural or suburban, and the school, and some other information. So this interface here in ModSquad allows us to, if it shows you which variables are present in the data set. It shows you the type, for example, categorical or real. If there's string, it'll show you string. So it'll show you the type of variable, and then it'll give an appropriate visualization. Categorical variables gives you bar charts. Real values gives you a histogram, which gives you the distribution of the overall range of that variable takes on. And this all values plot, which is a rendering of every single data point for this particular feature. And it lets us see things like, are there continuous valued values, or are there discrete values like this? See, we're age, so it's always just 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 years old. That's in contrast. So it's a quick way to really get a feel for your data. Also, if there's outliers, if you know the particular subject matter this problem is about, you can take a look to see if there was a collection mistake in this data set because the values are out of range or something. That's the way to look at individual values. Now, this next panel, the exploratory visualization, allows us to compare two features against each other out of the data set. The target feature, which has kind of been designed by this problem as the one that we're trying to estimate or predict the values of, given the other ones, has been highlighted for us. And it's the default original view. There's several renderings that happen in this web page. You can just scroll down to see them. But the target variable, which is our goals here, is always presented on the left side of all of these renderings. That's always presented right along here. And it's presented against the other variables, such as age, or grades, or their gender. So you can explore how to do this. Also, you can change which variable you want to take a look at. If we're going to look at, rural or urban against gender. So this allows you to explore any two features against each other in the data set. Let me briefly explain this heat map. If there's two categorical variables that come together, then we'll show you a heat map. Sorry, I'm trying to talk fast. The legend over here shows you how many samples in that data set belong in each of the squares. So the highest number of samples were urban young women, urban girls. So that's how we look at this overall color. And each of these squares has been the actual number of samples matches this. So there's more suburban young men than there are rural young men, but it's spread out a little bit more. So that's how you read those variables. Okay, moving on to the model discovery. The ModSquad interface connects to, I'm going to start this and I'll explain what we're doing in a second just to speed up the video. The ModSquad interface, notice how I scrolled up a little bit and you see this bar. We're connecting here to a modeling engine. And there's a default modeling engine up here. We were able to give it a number of minutes that we wanted to, how long we wanted to give the modeling engine time to estimate the solution to this problem. This was a relatively simple problem. You may want to just start with 1 minute for most of the problems. This modeling engine seems to be pretty quick. And what it's attempting to do now is to describe several different potential solutions for deriving the values or predicting the values of that target variable. And so this modeling engine is going to make several estimates within a minute and then give us a little output display in a tabular form of the potential candidates that the way it's made to solve this particular problem. And it's our job to evaluate those potential candidates. Okay, it looks like we're finished and we're fetching results. So here is a table of the values, and what we're able to do is we're able to click, several of these ones. They've been ranked in order by the quality that the modeling system thinks that it's returned. It believes that this one is 47.8%, so about half of the samples are correct. And this drops down. It looks like it gave us 20 different answers. We can just take a look at the bottom ones. It looks like the worst ones are like 23%. We'll pick the bottom one too. And so now we have, I think it was the first one and the last one selected. So we can go next, and we'll take a look at those ones that we've picked. So out of that set of candidates, you pick a few that look promising, and we're picking two different ones just so we can kind of tell the difference. You're picking two that look promising, and then right now we were fitting the model. So we're asking the model to actually calculate the values predict the values for every single sample in the data set. What we got here now is, here's our top one, and here's one of the other ones that we picked. I guess we picked two top ones and one poor one. We'll look at all of them in a second. Let's compare. I think this one and the second one look about the same, probably. Okay. And the third one is probably different. All right. I'll explain that in a second. So what we have here is the actual values along the bottom against the predicted values that came back from the modeling engine along the left. What we're looking for in an ideal case is kind of what we have here, but even stronger. We're looking for a bright diagonal down the diagonal, because that means for every time that grades was the most important value of the class variable, then we predicted grades. So we want to have the highest, brightest colors along the diagonal, because that means each of the variable values were predicted correctly. The coloring of this system, each column is colored independently. So you'll see over here column-wise proportion, up to 1%. So almost all of the grades were predicted correctly. It's maybe like 80, 90%. So the 10% is down here. So each of these columns adds up to 100%, and this is the color bar explaining your percentage. The last one that looks funny, this solution, just no matter what you gave it, it always said grades. That's one way to answer it if you're assuming that maybe grades is a popular answer, so you always answer grades. So this one doesn't seem to be a very good one. We'll remember at 92. Okay, let's maybe go back up to the beginning. We'll go here to the original, and so that last one was the 92. We'll go to the end and turn that one off. That one doesn't seem to be very, very helpful. All right, so you get the idea here. We can go back and forth between picking solutions and evaluating them. And the idea is once we have a set that we really like, then we will export those. And so let's go ahead and do that here. We'll export this one. And when you click export, then ModSquad writes that out so that there's a permanent record that this was what was selected by the user, by you, as what seemed to be the most effective solution for that. There's one last feature that I'd like to show you, and that is maybe none of these candidates were very good. There's an alternative. We have an extra little bit of power. If we back up to this variables panel, you'll see right here there is include this variable in the analysis. This is defaults to true for everything. All the data sets, all the variables we have in our data sets are usually included, but we can decide to disable particular features. So I'm disabling the grade and the age. This probably won't predict as well, but you'll see these are grayed out now instead of being dark. We can turn off a few variables and go back here and ask the system to fit again. And the answers might be better, but they might not be. Remember, I think our best before was 47.8%. If this turns out to be higher, then those variables were confusing the modeling engine a bit, and it is better off turning those off. So you can see now the workflow that we have is to work through the steps along here, you can always go back and explore any interactions between the variables themselves or the way they're paired off with each other. We train this model by giving it some time and collecting train, and we potentially disable some of the source features if they are distracting the model. We look at the results of the pipeline candidates that we get back, then we export the ones that we want, and we quit. So what I will do here, we're about to finish getting back a couple more things. I'll just go ahead and export a few and we'll quit. Here, we'll just assume these, actually 47, so these are not quite as good, right? We'll just pick these two, and ModSquad had already exported one. We'll go take a quick look at them. You can't export it first. Once you come over here and examine those results, then you can go back to the modeling discovery panel and export them. So we'll assume that one looks good. This one probably looks about the same. Okay, we'll go back and we'll just say we'll take these. Remember, we had already exported the rank 1, so these are our rank 2 and 3. I think at this point we're done. We'll go ahead and pass through the results viz, and you can stop here. This is the end of our quick walkthrough. Thank you for the time, and I hope that you enjoy your experience with ModSquad, and we look forward to your feedback.